Someone owns 5 Ferraris, 20 to 30 homes, and from what we followed in almost 2 years, never worked a day in their life.
$35 million in assets seized, including luxury cars, high-end homes, and of course, lots of cash. Police release what came out of Project Sindicato. They are calling it the largest organized crime operation in the history of York Regional Police. 9 people are now facing charges. And as Lorenda Redekop explains, police allege a connection to a notorious mafia family in Italy.
Police unveiled an impressive haul. All proceeds of crime, they say. Almost $1 million in cash, Rolex watches, bottles of alcohol worth thousands of dollars. They seized luxury vehicles, including 5 Ferraris, restrained homes. The total value, $35 million.
We have dismantled the financial structure of this organized crime operation, both here and in Italy.
They say 9 people charged here are part of a crime family. Among them, the alleged boss, Angelo Filiomeni, with connections to the 'Ndrangheta mafia in Italy. Italian police held a news conference at the same time. 12 people are arrested there, and a police official from Rome spoke here.
Impegnati in una importante indagine.
Police say this organized crime ring ran illegal gambling houses, run out of cafes in Vaughan. This is one of the businesses that was raided by police. It's a cafe in front, and it's still open today. At the back, police allege that it was an illegal gaming operation going on. Police say the criminals would take advantage of people with gambling addictions, with loan sharks charging astronomical interest rates.
What follows that is the crime when it comes to time they can't pay. We have collections, the extortions, the shootings that we see a drive-by of homes and buildings.
Police say it's that type of violence that first sparked this investigation almost 2 years ago. They followed the money.
To take the fear out of a possible witness, we look for the evidence where we don't need a witness. And you do that by way of money laundering, forensic accounting, math. Math breaks this down.
The CRA was also involved. Money laundering and tax evasion are among the charges.
If someone is involved in illegal activities, they have to report their illegal gain to CRA. Al Capone once said that they can collect taxes on illegal gain. Well, he was wrong. CRA will collect and will go after people involved in tax evasion.
Police say this case isn't over. They ran wiretaps for almost a year, so they're still going through all the evidence. Lorenda Redekop, CBC News, Aurora.
The homicide unit is now investigating after a 36-year-old woman died in the Bloor and Dovercourt area.
We believe that her injuries may be as a result of an assault that occurred. So homicide's taken over this investigation, and we're in the process of investigating, trying to determine how she sustained her injuries.
Paramedics initially got a medical call just before 1 o'clock this morning. They transported the victim to hospital where she was later pronounced dead. Detectives are canvassing the area for video and say they are looking for a specific person of interest, adding there is no concern for public safety in the area. There are more questions piling up over how a man deemed a threat to society was able to leave CAMH and why the public wasn't told. Zebin Kong was found not criminally responsible for killing his roommate in 2014. Angelina King joins us live from CAMH now. Angelina, a lot of politicians weighing in on this matter today, from the mayor right up to the premier.
A lot of people talking about this today, Dwight, but in the end, everybody just wants answers. So right now, there are 2 investigations underway, one into Zebin Kong and where he is, and the second is an internal review into how police handled this case since he was reported missing. Because right now, there are a lot of questions, like how did he get a passport? Did anybody help him get on this plane? Why did it take police more than a week to alert the public since he was reported missing? And why were officers under the impression that he was a low risk to public safety when a provincial panel said quite the opposite?
Zebin Kong was born in China and has a degree in electrical engineering. About 10 years ago, he came to Canada as a permanent resident. An Ontario Review Board document shows after 3 years, he was let go from his job because of mental health issues. He said evil spirits were around him. He was scared. He attempted suicide. In 2014, he killed his roommate with a meat cleaver. He was found not criminally responsible. Now he's on the run.
There will be a full investigation to figure out how he got to where he got to and if anyone was involved in that process.
Toronto police are working with international law enforcement and have issued a Canada-wide warrant for Kong. Cam H reported him missing on July 3rd after he didn't return from his unsupervised day pass. Nearly 2 weeks into the investigation, police learned Kong boarded an international flight that day, but it took them 11 days to alert the public.
There definitely were some gaps. I want to find out what those gaps are, and I'll remedy those gaps to the best of our ability.
It's unclear where he is, but the Ontario Review Board documents from last summer give us a hint. Mr. Kong has not demonstrated motivation or desire to live in the community, nor to openly participate in treatment. His request is that he would like to return to China to live with his mother. It also says at this point there is no doubt that Mr. Kong continues to present a significant threat to the safety of the public. However, Mr. Kong is showing a slow but steady positive trajectory. But Saunders says police were informed he was a low risk to public safety. In an interview with a Toronto radio station, Ontario Premier Doug Ford called the handling of the case ridiculous and says he wants answers.
These crazy people that want to go around chopping people up, they're out on the street.
The NDP says using that language stigmatizes those dealing with mental health issues.
It's not an approach that I think the general public want to see from their premier.
Experts say the vast majority of patients who get day passes return and only a small number reoffend.
That gradual reintegration into the community is a thing that is going to assist public safety. In other words, the worst thing you can do is keep people for a defined period of time and suddenly drop them into the community without the resources.
I was not happy with it. I disagree with it. But again, I didn't say that. They did.
Trump tries to distance himself from chants made by his supporters at a rally last night, echoing Trump's own words about a congresswoman of color. We'll have that story for you coming up in just a few minutes. Next year will mark the end of an era for one of Toronto's most iconic sports bars. After more than a quarter of a century at 99 Blue Jays Way, the building that is home to Wayne Gretzky's restaurant is going to be torn down and replaced by, guess what? Condos. Greg Ross joins us live from outside the pub. And when you look around you, Greg, I guess it was only a matter of time.
Yeah, well, Dwight, Wayne Gretzky's opened back in 1993, and since then, this entire area has undergone a complete facelift. It's now surrounded by these massive condo buildings. The latest, just across the street, a building that is currently still under construction, and pretty soon those construction crews will move here across the street, and next year they'll start working here.
Yeah, it's been 26 great years, and we've got a lot of great memories here.
Thomas Bitove is part of the ownership group for Wayne Gretzky's. He says a lot has changed since the bar first opened its doors.
In 1993, when we opened, there were 1,400 parking spots on the ground. There's less than 100 left. All have been replaced by condos and developments and hotels.
And next year, the same will happen here. Surprising news to regulars.
That's terrible. I think they should. That's really sad.
I've always come here whenever going to a hockey game or going down to the Jays games, always stopped in here.
The staff also recently found out the property had been sold, and now the future of their jobs is uncertain. Bo Krul has worked behind the bar at Gretzky's for more than 20 years.
So it's going to be a very difficult transition, I'm not going to lie.
Krul says regardless of what happens, he'll always have the memories, like working the night Canada won hockey gold in the 2010 Olympics.
Not only could he not get into the building, but people were standing on tables. It was electric in here. And then when they scored the goal, I've never seen...
Golden goal by Crosby.
But I've never seen a building erupt like that. It was incredible to be a part of.
Krul says during the Raptors' recent championship run, Oasis, Gretzky's rooftop patio, was also packed for every game. Do you feel like you're a part of those moments?
Oh, 100%.
It's not just the moments, it's also the people. Wayne and his father Walter Gretzky are regulars, and they often bring the stars, like the night they hosted a Hall of Fame induction party for Chris Chelios.
We had Michael Jordan, we had John McEnroe, we had Jerry Bruckheimer, we had Cuba Gooding Jr., Cindy Crawford. I mean, we had all of Hollywood here because they're all friends of Chris Chelios'.
Speaking of stars, a place known for turning them out also shares space in the building. Second City has been there for 15 years. They're now looking for a new home.
Really proactive about this. We're going to use it as an opportunity to try and grow our business in Toronto and move into, hopefully a bigger location with more stages.
While Second City will live on, the future of Gretzky's is still up in the air. Bitov says they are looking at options to relocate, possibly near the Scotiabank Arena.
We're looking for alternate locations, so we're not saying it's over yet totally. We're going to see how that plays out.
In the meantime, both Gretzky's and Second City will continue to operate here until sometime next year. Neither has set an official moving date, but we're told that they have until November of 2020 to move out of here. I got to tell you, Dwight, it's going to be very strange to walk down Blue Jay Way here and not see Wayne Gretzky's bar.
Yeah, it's very strange not seeing that at number 99. Thank you, Greg. If you are in the Peterborough area, you've probably had trouble listening to CBC Radio 1 and CBC Music today. That's because the transmitter needed to run those stations is down and likely will be for the rest of the day. A crew will be there to install new cables tomorrow morning, weather permitting. And I'm guessing, Nick, the rain might hamper them. So what are we expecting tomorrow?
Yeah, especially them, Dwight, because we are looking at a band of rain that is going to move through the area through tonight. And then tomorrow, everybody getting a little bit of wet weather as well. We're going to get to that, but I want to talk about the heat first. We've got heat warnings in effect right across southern Ontario. This with temperatures that are going to reach the mid-30s tomorrow. Humidex values into the mid-40s, and that's going to stick around for a couple of days. Today we hit 28 degrees. We're sitting just a hair below that right now. And the reason we didn't quite get to 30, a large part of that is a southeasterly breeze off of the water. That'll all change for tomorrow. Southwesterly wind is going to pump in hotter and also more humid weather as well for tomorrow. And that's going to be the fuel for some showers. Now tonight we're watching one line of showers up to the north. We can expect that to move through, and then tomorrow morning, a little bit of a break, although some wet weather not out of the question for Toronto and the Golden Horseshoe. But it's tomorrow afternoon where I think we may trigger off a line of showers and thunderstorms through the afternoon hours there. And that, again, with all this heat and humidity, we'll sort of time that out for you a little better coming up in just a bit. Here's a peek at what you can expect for the next 24 hours. 23 degrees tonight, and this is part of the story. The Humidex tonight, 32. And tomorrow it continues to rise. Full details in just a bit. Right.
Thank you, Nick.
You're welcome.
A New York judge has denied high-profile financier Jeffrey Epstein bail as he awaits his trial on sex trafficking and conspiracy charges. The lawyer for his alleged victim spoke shortly after the decision came down.
We're thrilled today with the ruling by Judge Berman, and we thank Alex Rossmiller and his entire team for the hard work that they've put in to get to this place. Only by taking away the freedom of Jeffrey Epstein can we restore the freedom of these victims. They have been living in fear and intimidation since the day they were abused by him, and now he is in jail.
A U.S. federal court judge ordered that Epstein remain in jail until trial. He's facing a number of charges, including sex trafficking involving underage girls. He had agreed to post a $100 million bond, pay for security at his home, and be under electronic monitoring, but prosecutors say he's an extreme flight risk, pointing to piles of cash and diamonds and a fake passport found in his New York mansion. U.S. President Donald Trump is trying to distance himself from a disturbing chant. It started last night at a rally after Trump criticized 4 Democratic congresswomen. And when he named Ilhan Omar, the crowd had a strong reaction to the Muslim American politician. Ellen Morrow has more.
In an incredibly rare move, President Trump distanced himself from some of his supporters today, claiming he did not like the send her back chant that broke out at a rally last night after Trump attacked Congresswoman Ilhan Omar, a U.S. citizen who came here as a refugee. The chant and the president's words have been condemned as racist. This was Trump's response today.
It was quite a chant, and I felt a little bit badly about it, But I will say this, I did, and I started speaking very quickly, but it started up rather fast, as you probably noticed.
The president also claimed he tried to stop the chant by speaking quickly after it began, but he actually let it go on for several seconds, not once hushing the crowd or expressing any dislike. Have a look.
Omar has a history of launching vicious anti-Semitic screeds.
Congresswoman Omar reacted this afternoon, calling the president a fascist.
I believe he is fascist. I want to remind people that this is what this president and his supporters have turned our country, that is supposed to be a country where we allow democratic debate and dissent to take place.
Very few Republicans have spoken out against the president or the scene last night. Senator Lindsey Graham, who once called Trump a race-baiting bigot and is now a strong Trump ally, stood up for the president.
No, I don't think it's racist to say. Was it racist to say love it or leave it? I don't think a Somali refugee embracing Trump would not have been asked to go back. If you're a racist, you want everybody from Somalia to go back because they're black or they're Muslim. That's not what this is about to me.
Trump was asked earlier this week whether he's concerned that he's being accused of racism, and he said no because he said a lot of people agree with him. Trump's also made clear he sees attacking 4 progressive congresswomen, all U.S. citizens, all women of color, as a strategic move. He's trying to paint these lawmakers who support left-leaning policies as radicals and make them the face of the Democratic Party as a whole, betting that that will scare voters away from the party. So these attacks are likely to continue. Ellen Morrow, CBC News, Washington.
Quebec's highest court has upheld the province's law banning religious symbols for some public servants. The judge in the case refused to grant an injunction suspending it. Now, the court rejected the argument that the bill causes irreparable harm to the people affected. It said affidavits submitted in support of that argument were hypothetical and speculative in nature. The judge also said it was highly unusual for a court to issue an injunction against a law that was already passed in the legislature. The court motion was launched by the National Council of Canadian Muslims and the Canadian Civil Liberties Association. If you find yourself near the lake, you might notice these new bins. Their job, clean up the water. What we found in them, coming up next.
The weather update is brought to you by Train Extreme Conditions Testing. It's hard to stop a train, really hard. Train, the most reliable heating and cooling brand.
Ports Toronto is using new technology to help clean up the city's outer harbor. Their 3 floating garbage cans have been installed, capable of collecting 4 kilos of trash a day. Natalie Nanowski shows us how they work.
Take a look at any body of water, and there's often trash, especially plastic, floating on the surface.
Until recently, the only way to get these gross floaters out of the water was with a net. And it's not exactly that easy. But now, a new innovation takes all the manual labor out of it.
That's the CBin.
Cleans up our garbage. It basically just sits there in the water with a pump that pumps about 2,500 liters per minute, pushing downwards, and the pump sort of just slowly pulls garbage towards it and traps it.
Let's take out the bin and see what's in there.
Alrighty. All right, little bits of garbage that you would normally find in the water floating.
That's pretty huge and impressive.
But smaller stuff like bottle caps and things like that.
Right, those are harder to catch.
And then if you look closely, you actually might see some of the smaller plastics that are in there.
Oh wow, that's a tiny piece of plastic.
The CBin can trap pieces as small as 2 millimeters. It was invented by 2 Australian surfers who got fed up seeing garbage every time they went into the ocean. They made a prototype and found a manufacturer in Europe.
So they gave us the idea, and we basically worked on it to make it fit for the marinas. So we really improved it to make it collect as much trash as possible and to make it last as long as possible once it's installed.
It's made entirely out of recycled material. There's even a sponge inside that sucks up oil and gas. In total, the CBin can pick up nearly 4 kilograms of trash a day.
So far, in 1 year and 3 months, we have sold about 720 CBins in the world, and about 110 tons of trash have been collected.
The Outer Harbour Marina is part of a pilot project. It's one of the first marinas in Canada to get the bins. If all goes well, they could start popping up in marinas all over the city. Natalie Nanowski, CBC News, Toronto.
It's one small step for man, one giant leap for mankind.
In the 50 years since astronauts first walked on the moon, we've learned that the lack of gravity and weightlessness can have serious health consequences. So, scientists have been looking at how to create gravity artificially. Vic Adopia explains.
You can see the parachute coming down and the...
It was a landing that felt like a crash, but for Canadian astronaut Bob Thirsk, that wasn't the worst part.
I felt like a wet dish rag on landing day.
In space, astronauts' bodies go through an unearthly ordeal. They work out daily to counter the effects of low gravity on their muscles, but it's never enough.
I wanted to exercise, do that little bit extra exercise so that I was the Iron Man on landing day. Didn't happen. Weightlessness takes a toll on the human body.
Researchers are getting a better idea of how much of a toll. This lab works with volunteers and astronauts, developing new technologies, measuring the damage caused by weightlessness, pushing blood upwards to the head.
And we found that arteries get stiffer by quite a bit while they're in space. In fact, in 6 months in space, the arteries get stiffer by the equivalent of about 20 years of aging.
With the muscle and artery damage in space also comes changes to bone marrow, which is being studied by another Canadian team.
So it kind of reverses your normal forces of gravity. It's not like being in space, but it's a good model for it.
This doctor is trying to counteract that effect by working with German researchers on this, a centrifuge that spins test subjects. It creates a pull similar to gravity, and exercising while spinning counteracts the effects of low gravity. You may have seen the concept before in the movies, which is not far off from what might be our reality.
So if the studies that we're carrying in Germany now are conclusive, that could well be part of the design of the future spacecraft to Mars.
Artificial gravity won't solve all the problems of longer space travel. There's still the extended exposure to solar radiation, and also the unknown cognitive and psychological effects of spending more time in space. astronauts' bodies will have to endure a lot.
We need to build up a bit more knowledge before we can send people to Mars. We do not know if the damage will continue to progress at the same rate or if there's going to be a plateau at one point.
As space exploration takes astronauts deeper into the galaxy, it'll open up new frontiers not just for human travel, but for human health. Vic Adopia, CBC News, Toronto.
We're live in Etobicoke, where a worker has died after an accident at the special effects production house. What we know so far, coming up.
People across Japan are reeling after a mass murder. A deliberately set fire killed at least 33 people today in a well-known animation studio. 36 others were injured, 10 of them critically. Local media reports say the victims couldn't escape because the fire was blocking the building's front door. John Van Dusen has more now from Japan.
News broke of a fire at Kyoto Animation with smoke pouring out of the three-story building. Then reports came in the fire was a possible arson. Japanese media say a 41-year-old man entered the building and started spraying what appeared to be gasoline and reportedly shouting he wanted people to die. There were around 70 in the building at the time. We now know nearly half of them were killed. An official with Kyoto's fire department said more than 10 people were found unconscious and presumed dead on the top floor, some of them on the stairs leading to the roof. Dozens more were injured, including the suspect, who's in police custody and recovering in hospital. There's few details on who he is or what his motives were and what, if any, connection he has to the company, but police are investigating this as a possible arson. This is the latest incident to shock a country not known for violent crimes, though there have been a number of incidents in recent years that's rattled that image. On Twitter, Japan's Prime Minister called what happened today too appalling for words while offering condolences to the victims. Kyoto Animation is well known among anime fans and produces movies and TV series, and it's receiving an outpour of support from the online community after this tragedy. John Van Dusen, CBC News, Tokyo.
The former First Lady, Michelle Obama, has plans to come back to our city. She was here in May for a book tour, and now she'll be back as a speaker at the tech festival Elevate.
She embodies the values of Elevate. She embodies the values for me personally, and I think for us in Toronto as a community, we are all about giving back. We're all about opening the door, and that's what I see Michelle doing. And I think collectively, she is working, and we are working to make this world a better place.
The festival touts itself as the fastest growing tech festival in Canada. Obama will grace the stage in the middle of the week-long festival on September 24th. Around 20,000 participants are expected to show up to listen to speakers and attend events like a two-day street party on King West. Besides Michelle Obama, other speakers include astronaut Chris Hadfield and singer Akon. You may have heard of the dog days of summer, but over at Billy Bishop Airport these days, it's actually the frog days. Make that actually toad days to be exact. Over the past 2 days, the little amphibians have invaded the terminal on the waterfront. Perhaps they're hoping to hop onto a flight. Employees say they enter the gates first thing in the morning, then scatter right throughout the airport. A wildlife management team has been carefully removing and relocating the toads. A spokesperson for the airport said high water levels in the lake could be a factor. You think? There's something about wicked weather, and this week, 2 storms hit the GTA 30-plus years apart, with historic trees feeling their wrath. First, let's go back to 1980. Hail the size of golf balls crashing down, smashing windows and crippling power lines. And at Thornhill's Heinzman House, 9 fir maple trees, about a century old each, were struck down.
The trees themselves are basically what most people are missing. They were as old, almost as old as the house, and they were 40 to 50 feet high, and you just don't find them like that anymore.
Now to July 19th, 2013. A thunderstorm brought high winds and lightning to Toronto.
The wires were sparking as we were going under. It was like we were in a movie.
The storm downed a famous silver maple on Lang Street. It was the inspiration for Alexander Muir's song, The Maple Leaf Forever.
I hope many people remember this tree.
So the big question, Nick, is will history repeat itself? Are we getting some of those storms?
You know what, Dwight? We might.
I know.
Okay. Yeah. I don't make this stuff up.
No.
We might actually, and it's all because of the heat and humidity. That's the fuel right? And you just need some kind of a trigger, and we're going to talk about that in a second here. But I want to talk about where that heat and humidity is coming from first, and then we'll get to the potential for some showers and thunderstorms tomorrow. What we've got is a high-pressure system that's basically entrenched, a ridge that's down in the south, and winds flow clockwise around it, so they kind of flow parallel to these isobars, or lines of equal barometric pressure. So you notice they're pointed right to southern Ontario. We move forward next 24 hours, they're still there, and that's when we start to see some of the effects of the heat, the real effects of the heat and humidity. They're still there for Saturday as well, and it's not until Sunday where it starts to break down and a cold front comes through, and that's when temperatures drop off just a little bit. Now, to put things in perspective, the record for tomorrow, 35.6 degrees. We're going to come close to it. I'm not sure we'll beat it, but we'll come pretty close to it. Right now, we're sitting at 26 degrees. Previously, we're up to 28 degrees. With the humidex, though, at this point, still feels like 34 in the GTA, and it's going to feel a lot hotter by the time we hit tomorrow. In fact, even through tonight, it's going to be quite warm. No thunderstorms or showers at the moment, but we are tracking a system up to the north here. This has some warnings attached to it for northern Ontario. However, for the GTA, we are expecting to see this slide down. So out toward Peterborough, we could see some showers and thunderstorms through tonight. Scattered showers and thunderstorms late overnight into tomorrow morning for even the GTA as well. And we'll get a bit of a break, but I think with all this heat and humidity after about 3 to 4 p.m., there's a good chance we're going to trigger off some showers and, again, thunderstorms. And because of all the moisture in the atmosphere, locally heavy downpours, definitely not out of the question. Same story for Saturday, too, by the way, and then Sunday, some rain showers along the cold front. So not a washout, but again, afternoon showers and thunderstorms. Tonight, 23 degrees, feels like 32 with the humidex. Tomorrow, temperature of 34, humidex of 43 with those showers and thunderstorms. Sticks around for Saturday as well. Sunday, a cold front rolls through. It's going to start to drop temperatures, and then much more reasonable and sunny for Monday and Tuesday. Dwight.
Thanks, Nick.
You bet.
We're following a developing story out of Etobicoke for you, where a worker has died in an industrial accident. It happened about 11:30 this morning. Our Taylor Simmons is live for us at the scene near Kipling and the Queensway. And Taylor, you've just learned some new details about what happened there.
Yeah, Dwight, some breaking news about the man killed in this accident this morning. He's actually the special effects producer here at this production house, Acme FX. His name is Warren Appleby, and they do all kinds of special effects testing here for explosions and car flips. And today, one of those tests went wrong while preparing for a shoot on a new superheroes show called Titans. And we have a statement here from the producers of that show, from Warner Brothers and DC Universe. They say, "We are heartbroken and devastated by the passing of our treasured colleague, special effects coordinator Warren Appleby, after an accident which occurred at a special effects facility during the preparation and testing for an upcoming shoot. Warren is beloved by all who worked with him during an impressive 25-year career in television and motion pictures." So as a result, the parking lot behind here where some of those tests take place is still shut down. Some neighbors tell us they see explosions back there sometimes as they're testing some of these special effects. And we can't actually get back there because police have asked us to stay back, but we have some video to show you of what you'd be able to see. Although it hasn't been confirmed how it's happened, you'll see back there, it looks like a car is flipped over. There's a white police car, obviously a fake one, flipped on its side with the windshield totally smashed. And police tell us emergency crews were called here at 11:30 a.m. for that incident. Here's what the Toronto Police Constable David Hopkinson had to say.
Apparently, a piece of equipment had burst or exploded, and a piece of that equipment broke off and struck a worker, causing very serious injury. Now, we arrived on scene and we assisted EMS in an emergency run to try and get this person to hospital to save their life. They were pronounced en route to hospital.
So I've been in touch with the Ministry of Labor, who's now in charge of this investigation. They say that they actually can't confirm whether it's a workplace-related incident, but they did have 2 investigators here earlier that just left recently, so that information may have changed based on what we've just heard from this company, but obviously still a very ongoing investigation, Dwight.
Yeah, tragic incident out there. Thank you for the update, Taylor. One of the perks of moving into a newly built home is that everything is shiny and new, but some homeowners are surprised to discover there's nothing stopping builders from running the heat during construction, which could leave the furnace used or even damaged before the owner even moves in. Laura Osman has more.
One owner I spoke to compared it to buying a new car and getting a used engine. Now, sometimes furnaces are used during new home construction, but that debris doesn't always get cleared out. It's a practice that the industry tried to ban several years ago, but since that deal fell through, nothing has been done.
Over here is the furnace.
Dave Myatt moved into his new home in Morrisburg about a year ago. The day before he got the keys, he opened up the furnace and got a bit of a shock.
It was just all coated as if there was a bag of flour exploded.
Coated in drywall dust. An HVAC repair company confirmed the construction debris had been sucked into the furnace and into the bearings of the motor, potentially damaging the furnace long term.
So I then owned the home with a furnace that was, I'll say, a ticking time bomb, because the damage is kind of hidden and it will break down over time.
There are no rules against running furnaces during winter construction as long as the builder follows the manufacturer's instructions.
Well, this one you can see the dust.
Inspectors say occasionally drywall dust does show up in furnaces of new homes, and it can cause problems over time.
Drywall dust can cause a lot of damage to the bearings inside of the furnace fans. They can grind them down and wear them out.
Manufacturers banded together a few years ago to try to ban the practice because they didn't want homeowners saddled with dirty furnaces. But that deal fell apart. One problem is there's not enough information about how badly the debris affects the furnace.
Probably most industry experts would indicate the practice negatively affects the performance and longevity of the system. Although one of the challenges is that there is very little statistical data available or testing available kind of prove that statement.
But a homeowner advocacy group says furnace issues are the #1 complaint they hear from the owners of new homes. And most don't know their furnace isn't brand new when they move in.
We need to have new furnaces delivered with newly built homes. And if they're going to be used furnaces, that should at least be disclosed to people so that people could take precaution by having their furnace checked out or having their ducts cleaned.
Most furnace manufacturers require the builder to clean the furnace before the new homeowner moves in. But as we know from Dave Myatt's experience, that doesn't always happen. The Canadian Standards Association is looking at new guidelines for running furnaces during construction, but the process is slow and they may not be in place until 2021. Laura Osman, CBC News, Ottawa.
It was the second and final day of CBC Kids Days here at our building, and this time it was Metro Morning host Matt Galloway's turn to find the next junior journalist for CBC. Lucky contestants had to come up with a hard-hitting question from Matt, and as we had to break, take a look at these future reporters in action.
You know, I ask people questions. I don't answer questions very often, so I'm very nervous.
If you were any animal, what animal would you be?
What a strange question. You know, I'd like to be an eagle.
Well, what is your favorite thing to report in the news?
I like to tell people about good things that are happening in their city.
Yeah.
I like to let people feel good about the place that they're in.
That's very optimistic. How long have you been a TV journalist?
I work on TV and radio, and I've been doing it for about 15 years, maybe a little bit longer than that. I'm old.
What's your biggest dream?
My biggest dream? Mm-hmm. Wow, these are good questions. My biggest dream is to watch my kids grow up. I'm really curious. I have a job right now, and I want to know what they're going to be like when they're my age. So I just dream about watching them get bigger and get older and kind of become their own people.
The opening night gala for the Toronto International Film Festival this year has been announced, and for the first time in TIFF's history, it will open with a Canadian-made documentary, or should we say, rockumentary. Once We're Brothers, Robbie Robertson and the band will have its world premiere in September. It tells the story of Robertson's early life and the formation of the band. The documentary is inspired by the musician's 2016 memoir, Testimony, and will combine archival footage with song and interviews with the likes of Bruce Springsteen, Van Morrison, and Martin Scorsese, who is also the film's executive producer. Now, I had the chance to sit down with Robertson earlier this year to talk about the pair's history.
I first met him after he directed Mean Streets, and there was something in the way that he used music in his movies that I thought was above and beyond anything else. And so when it came time to do The Last Waltz, I asked him if he would direct it. And then he directed Raging Bull, and he asked me to work on the music for that. And then he directed The King of Comedy, and he asked me to work on the music for that. And so I've been doing this over the years.
And that friendship has led to some incredible musical scores for films.
Yeah, and it's always different with him, and it's always challenging. And this new...
In a statement, Robertson said he is, quote, tremendously honored. A doc on his life will open TIFF. Once We're Brothers will open at Roy Thompson Hall on September 5th. The festival runs until September 15th. More of the lineup will be announced next week. Camp Ignite in Mississauga continues its annual summer program aimed at empowering teen girls with firefighting and leadership skills. The 5-day course was founded by Shelley Varela, Mississauga's first female firefighter and captain. Daniel Clark now with some of the grueling training exercises the teens are put through.
I wanted to be a firefighter since I was 2. I had a fire hat. It was like a red sturdy one, and every time my mom would ask me to go grab a summer hat, I'd grab that one. It turned pink in the sun because I wore it so much.
But I always had like a passion for firefighting or like paramedics, and so when I got here, like after the first day, I was like, this is it. Like this is what I'm gonna do. Good job.
Shelley Varela, Mississauga's first female firefighter, is running this camp with the goal of empowering young women.
So what we've added this year, which is brand new, is we have motivational mornings, we're calling them. And so it's part leadership and it's part mindsets. It's when they walk in on the first day, and many of them are shy and standoffish a little bit, and to watch their confidence grow, not only in their skill set, but in their abilities and what's possible for them, is probably the greatest gift of doing this camp.
When Shelley told us her story about how, like she pushed herself even though she was told not to, like she wouldn't be able to do it, she told herself she could, I started saying, you know what, I can do it, and I was able to do it.
Speakers like youth motivator Joe Beckman talk to the girls about kindness, inclusion, and building connections.
It's just like hearing other people's stories like that relate to your own. It's really it's encouraging to hear that other people have gone through the same things that you've gone through, and they've had the same struggles, but they've gotten through it.
You have to believe that you can do it in order to do it. Like mind over matter. You're good. If I were to go into a real fire, I feel like right now I would want her with me.
Daniel Clark, CBC News, Mississauga.
Okay. All right, pile in. Well, a few years ago, if you talked about fat cats, people would laugh it off, but I think everybody's taking obesity more seriously now.
Are cats getting fatter? After the break, we delve into a study that says, yes, feline obesity is on the rise. So is there an ideal weight for your cat? The answer next. A new study involving millions of cats from across Canada and the United States is confirming a fact many pet owners and vets have long suspected. Cats today are fatter than they used to be, and as Christine Birak tells us, it may be impacting their health.
Until now, even veterinarians didn't know for sure. But it's true, cats have gotten fatter. Researchers crunched the numbers from 19 million electronic data records for cats here in Canada and the United States, and their findings raise important questions about the overall health of cats.
Well, a few years ago, if you talked about fat cats, people would laugh it off, but I think everybody's taking obesity more seriously now.
Beyond the kitten phase, researchers at the University of Guelph say cats are continuing to get bigger as they age, and their average weight is up from what it was 25 years ago.
Our cats by 8 years of age had gained an average of a half a kilo or a pound, which is 20% of their body weight. And we know that obesity is related to a lot of diseases, diabetes, some obesity-related cancers, and arthritis.
They found male cats tended to reach higher weight peaks than females, and spayed or neutered cats tended to be heavier than unfixed cats because their metabolism often slows down after the procedure. This veterinarian says there are several reasons why cats are getting bigger.
People now are more likely to keep their cats indoors, and of course by doing that, you tend to get cats that become more sedentary. And you know, food is love sometimes too, so a way to show affection to your cat is to continue to feed them. And I think people have gotten away from actually measuring up how much food they're supposed to have.
You might be wondering, so how much should my cat weigh? While it depends on their age, researchers say they haven't come up with an ideal weight just yet, but say it helps to keep track at home. And if your pet is losing or gaining too much weight too quickly, you should get them checked out. Christine Birak, CBC News, Toronto.
Now, if your furry friend is an outdoor cat, the fact is that it's not going to be fun for them over the next few days. It won't be fun for any of us. Nick's back after the break with just how hot it's going to get. You don't have to go to the Danforth for Greek delicacies. Metro Morning food columnist Suresh Das takes us to Cosmos Agora. It is a grocery store, cheese and butcher shop, bakery, and hot counter all in one.
Hi, my name is Bill Stamatopoulos. I'm the proud owner of Cosmos Agora. We are located in Scarborough on Lawrence Avenue East. This establishment here encompasses a full shopping experience from the Greek cuisine. Moussaka is a traditional Greek dish. We start by, you pan fry or you can deep fry mediumly sliced potatoes. You oven bake, I let you brush oven bake eggplant. You take ground beef, you season it, you cook it, and unlike tomato sauce, you then layer it off, add some cheese, kefalotiri cheese inside. You do 3 layers, and then we'll do it with our own homemade special bechamel sauce topped off. And you bake it off for about half hour, 45 minutes. And then we'll cut it, and it's just amazing. It's amazing. People love it.
Oh, sorry, I'm too busy watching the food there. What do we have? I mean, it's going to be hot. We know that.
It's going to be. I think we're all going to be having ice cream for dinner and breakfast and lunch. I know my kid wouldn't.
I'm a slushy guy myself.
There you go. Slushy, freezies, whatever. It's going to be hot. I mean, bottom line is it's hot tomorrow, but also the overnight as well. Make sure you check on vulnerable populations, because the overnight, you've got a long stretch where you're not in contact with these people. It's 23 degrees, but 32 with the Humidex through the overnight as well. So that's kind of the message for tonight. Tomorrow, 34 sticks around for the weekend, then gets a little better for next week.
Thank you, Brady. Good advice. Check on your neighbors. That's it for our show tonight. Mike Wise has your next local newscast tonight at 11.